Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. You can find Civic Center TV on Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T, Channel 99 in the local area, where you can also find Birmingham area municipal access in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area, and in Southfield, City Cable 15 as well. We're also on a number of other community television stations in Waterford. We're on the Media Network of Waterford. Find that on Comcast, Channel 10, and AT&T Channel 99, and then live to tape on Orion Neighborhood Television at 1 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That is also Comcast Channel 10 and AT&T Channel 99 in Orion Township and in Lake Orion, where living is a vacation. You can join us on the radio, of course, in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 WBFH, the Biff Radio Network, who joins us live each and every day, and then online, several different places. Let's start with our Facebook pages. Facebook.com/Civic Center TV 15 and Facebook.com/Lakes FM. There you'll also get updates on everything else that we do and all of our other regular programming, including The Splash, which will be coming back soon, regular municipal meetings, if there are changes in that broadcast, and any important updates. And we'll get to one of those stories today that you'll want to stay updated on our Facebook page as well as on our Twitter page at Civic Center TV in order to keep informed. There has been a water main break in the local area at 14 Mile and Drake Road. We will have that story on our Civic Center TV coronavirus page here in just a moment. You also can join us online on our website at civiccentertv.com. When you get there, if you're on your cell phone and you're looking on your web browser, it's going to be in that left margin of the screen. A drop-down menu will appear once you hit on those 3 or 4 lines at the top left, and then you'll click on Watch Live. You'll be able to watch us live. On your computer web browser, right at the top of the web page, it is to the far right, second to last option from the right. Click on Watch Live. It's in between Carryout Club and On Demand, and you'll be able to watch us live on our website, civiccentertv.com. And then, lastly, you can watch us on MyTV or My Michigan TV by going to mymitv.com. Let me spell that out for you. It's MYMITV.com. It's My Michigan TV, Michigan's streaming network with content from all across the state of Michigan, made by creators in the state of Michigan, all about the Great Lakes state. You can find also on the website there at mymitv.com all the other places you can download the MyTV app, including on your smart TV and your smartphone. Get the app, watch everything live, get all the on-demand content, and some new shows coming up as well very soon. mymitv.com. And if you haven't remembered all those TV channels, all those radio frequencies, all of those websites, it's okay. It's a lot to remember. Heck, some days I don't remember all of it. Go to our website at civiccentertv.com and click on Megacast. There you'll find all the information you need to know about what exactly is a Megacast, where we're broadcasting every day, and then you have links to those websites for each and every one of our broadcast outlets, live and live to tape, so you can see everything else that they do in their communities and across the board here in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan. Also on our website, civiccentertv.com/Megacast, is where you can find our show and all of our interviews on demand. So you can watch the full 2 hours whenever it's best for you, or pick and choose from whichever interviews you find most interesting or important to yourself, your family, your job, your business, whatever the case may be. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. And then right next door to that is civiccentertv.com's coronavirus page. Here you're going to find a lot of important information about COVID-19 from trusted, reliable, expert resources on the front lines battling this pandemic since day one. From the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the State of Michigan's Health and Human Services Department, as well as the Oakland County Health Division. And on top of that, if you are in Oakland County, we have many of our local municipalities and their direct COVID-19 pages on our website there as well, just below the CDC, MDHHS, and Oakland County Health Division links, so that you can get a better understanding of how municipal business has been adjusted due to the pandemic, how it continues to be adjusted, and stay up to date in your hometown, whether you're in Auburn Hills, Rochester Hills, Bloomfield Hills, or anywhere else in between. We have many of those municipalities listed on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. In addition to that, each and every day we scour local publications from various regions of the state to find the top stories affecting the state of Michigan on the COVID-19 front and across the board, including right here in Oakland County. And first on the list today from Friday's new numbers related to COVID-19. Of course, they're going to have another update at some point today, but these are Friday's numbers. As of Friday, from BridgeMichigan.com, Michigan reported 8,078 new cases, 4,039 per day as of Friday, the second increase this week after over a week of declining case counts. The new cases pushed the 7-day average up to 3,400 per day, an increase from 3,318 on Wednesday of last week. The average case count had fallen from October 15th through Tuesday of last week before rising again. The state also reported 122 additional COVID-19 deaths, pushing the October total to 996. That is the 8th highest monthly total in the 20-month pandemic thus far. In 2021, only January, April, and May had more deaths due to COVID-19. The rise in cases came as the percentage of positive coronavirus tests rose from 11.8% out of more than 87,400 tests from 11.3% last week Wednesday. The 7-day rate remained 11.4%, the same as it was a week ago. Hospitalizations for COVID-19 also rose to 2,247 patients, up from 2,225 last week Wednesday. Stay up to date on those numbers, and of course, Bridge Michigan will continue to update their coronavirus tracker as those new numbers come in for today after over the weekend's numbers had been tallied as well. News on the COVID-19 vaccine front as we prepare for the potential of very soon having vaccine be available for children ages 5 to 11. This also from Bridge, Michigan. COVID vaccine for kids 5 to 11 has cleared another federal hurdle. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration authorized the two-dose Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for children 5 to 11 years old on Friday, setting the stage for youngsters being allowed to take the vaccine perhaps as soon as late this week. Friday's announcement came just days after a recommendation by an FDA advisory panel, which concluded that the benefits of protecting young children from the virus outweigh the rare side effects of the vaccine. The pediatric version of the Pfizer vaccine is more than 90% effective for the age group, according to its manufacturer, and would be given in a lower dose than is given to older recipients. While children are far less likely to be hospitalized or die from COVID-19, they are not immune. More than 600 pediatric deaths have been reported nationally since the pandemic began. And in Michigan, multisystem inflammatory syndrome, or MIS, in children, a serious condition in which COVID-19 infection inflames organs and tissues, has been reported in 172 people under 20 years old, including 122 who were admitted to a hospital in the intensive care unit, according to the latest state data. Pfizer still must get a green light from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention before it can be offered to Michigan families. The CDC Advisory Board meets on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. The FDA and CDC typically follow the advice of their medical advisors, but they are not bound to do so. While some parents and schools eagerly await the availability of the pediatric vaccine, providers might find it a tough sell for others. About 3 in 10 parents will quote-unquote definitely not have their children vaccinated, about twice the number, or 15%, of adults who in December of 2020 said they would not be vaccinated themselves, according to an ongoing survey by KFF, a San Francisco-based health policy research organization, also known as the Henry J. Kaiser Family Foundation. Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration pre-ordered more than 278,000 doses of the pediatric Pfizer vaccines, which are given at 1/3 of the adult dose and arrive with smaller needles. Quote, at this stage of the game and on the logistical front, things are moving pretty smoothly, said Ann Scott, Health Center's operations officer for the Michigan Primary Care Association. MPCA represents a network of health centers around the state, primarily low-income Michiganders. She said health centers are trying to find ways to make sure staff can set aside time to help anxious parents sort through the information about vaccines. Quote, we are ready, we have the ability, and we have the supply, unclosed quote, she said, of vaccination efforts. Scott continued on, quote, what we're talking about is how ready we will be available to answer questions, and closed quote. That full article from Bridge, Michigan Magazine on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And then lastly, locally, right here in Oakland County and in the very general vicinity of our studios here on Walnut Lake Road in West Bloomfield, several communities are under a boil water advisory, and 2 school districts are closed today after a water main break over the weekend. Several Metro Detroit communities have issued a boil water advisory, and 1 school district is closed after a massive water break Sunday along 14 Mile in Farmington Hills. This from WXYZ TV Detroit. The communities currently under a boil water advisory are Novi and Walled Lake, as well as a portion of Commerce Township. The Novi Consolidated School District and the Walled Lake Consolidated School District are also closed today due to the water main break. 14 Mile Road continues to be completely closed to traffic between Halstead and Drake Roads due to the water main break. It sounded like a waterfall and looked like a geyser. The water main break shot up from along 14 Mile in Farmington Hills, breaking through the sidewalk. The gushing water started just after 5 p.m. and continued until about 9:30 p.m. last night. Quote, the amount of water was just unbelievable. The whole street is flooded, said John Shinsky. A neighborhood backs up to this part of 14 Mile. The 4 homes directly in the water's path were severely damaged. A river of water and debris poured from people's backyards into the street as pieces of one home floated away. Quote, the sheer force blasted most of the wall of the rear of one house off, entered the home, and poured through the home, said Farmington Hills Fire Chief John Unruh. Outside the damaged homes, thousands across 8 Metro Detroit communities are now impacted. That includes Kegel Harbor, Sylvan Lake, West Bloomfield Township, Farmington Hills, Commerce Township, Novi, Walled Lake, and Wixom. According to the Great Lakes Water Authority, or GLEWA, the regional pressure levels never dipped to the point that would require a regional boil water advisory. However, some communities have issued their own out of an abundance of caution. Of course, those at this point include Novi, and I believe that's also Walled Lake. Farmington Hills issued a statement saying it was in an isolated break, and quote, the city of Farmington Hills water system is fully functional and operational. There is no system-wide boil water advisory at this time, and closed quote. Quote, we just went and bought a lot of water and probably will go to buy more tomorrow, said West Bloomfield resident Alina Dabish. For these residents, it's all too familiar. In 2017, near this exact same intersection, the same water main suffered a massive break. It put more than 250,000 people under a boil water advisory that lasted for several days. Quote, I know what the Great Lakes Water Authority has worked on, improvements to the systems, and hopefully those valves and things they renewed will be beneficial for this break, said Chief Unruh from Farmington Hills. But given that past experience, many residents aren't expecting to use their water anytime soon. They worry that this is only the beginning of a long week ahead. Quote, oh yeah, probably over a week. That's a possibility. That's what happened a while back when they turned the water off for a few days, Alina Dabish from West Bloomfield said. Dabish continued, just gotta wait and hold on and buy a lot of water, I guess, and closed quote. Here's what you should do if your community is under a boil water advisory. Quote, water should be boiled for at least 1 minute and allowed to cool before consumption. Boiled, bottled, or disinfected water should be used for drinking, making ice, washing dishes, brushing teeth, and preparing food until further notice. That is only, of course, in those communities where there is a boil water advisory. Check with your specific community or with the Great Lakes Water Authority to confirm whether or not your community is currently under a boil water advisory, or keep updated on whether or not they do eventually go into a boil water advisory as this story develops. Just about 36 minutes ago, from the West Bloomfield Police Department via their Twitter page at WestBLMFLDPD, 14 Mile east of Drake Road will be closed through Thursday due to this water main break, and they're encouraging that you use an alternate route. Of course, us here at Civic Center TV will continue to keep you updated on this situation. We are working closely with Deputy Police Chief Kurt Lawson, also their public information officer at the West Bloomfield Police Department, to stay informed on this situation, and we'll continue to provide updates as they come in over here. Again, that full article from WXYZ TV Detroit is on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. In addition to that, of course, we still have As always, those links to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the State of Michigan's Health and Human Services Department, as well as the Oakland County Health Division. And as we get closer to having that availability for children ages 5 to 11 to potentially get vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine. If you have questions, if you need more answers, if you need more information, those are the places to start. These are experts. These are medical officials. These are doctors, epidemiologists, virologists, people that have researched this kind of stuff for many years, well before COVID-19 and during this pandemic as well. If you want to start somewhere reliable and with factual information from experts who understand the context behind all of this research and all of these studies, go to our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, and click on those top 3 links: CDC resources, State of Michigan, and Oakland County. That will get you information from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great show ahead of you today. Coming up next, we'll be talking jobs with Jennifer Llewellyn, the manager of Oakland County's Workforce Development and director of Oakland County Michigan Works. Then at 10:40, we'll be talking winter skincare with Dr. Kyle Farr, doctor of nursing practice and board certified family nurse practitioner at Detroit Aesthetics Company out of Plymouth. At 11 o'clock, to kick off the second hour of the show, we'll be joined by the co-owner and marketing manager of the Better Health Store, Jon Handelsman. At 11:20, we'll be joined by a researcher from the University of Michigan who's done a lot of studies so far during this pandemic on the impact of housing crises and so on families, particularly in the in the city of Detroit. Lydia Wilden, a U of M PhD candidate from the DMAX research team, will be joining us at 11:20, and then 11:40 we'll cap off the show with Christine Johnson, the career and education coordinator at Grace Centers of Hope, located in Pontiac. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
But we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
the leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in our studios in West Bloomfield Township alongside our studio producer and board operator, Calvin Brown. And with me each and every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon for our live shows. You can also find us throughout the week for replays on our website, on demand, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now, she is the director of the Oakland County Michigan Works. Jennifer Llewellyn's back with us once again today to talk about the continued situation with our labor force here in Oakland County and all throughout the state of Michigan. Jennifer, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you for having me back. Pleasure to be back.
Yeah, good to have you with us. So right now, we've heard a lot over the past several months and really over the better part of the last year about the impact of a mass of women leaving the workforce as jobs are starting to be refilled slowly but surely. Work environments have begun to reopen. What progress has been made thus far? Where are we at in terms of bringing some of those women that did leave the workforce back into the workforce? Is that coming along quickly? Is that getting back to some sense of normalcy? Or are we still a ways away from being back to a good level of women in our workforce?
Well, we definitely have some work ahead of us. So last year during the height of the pandemic, the state of Michigan did a study on the impact of COVID-19 and women in the workforce, and their data showed that 136,000 women had left the workforce. It's now projected that we're closer to 200,000 women, and that's just in Michigan. And quite frankly, we can't afford to lose 200,000 women in the workforce. And where we're really feeling it are those, female-dominated traditionally occupations. So, childcare, education, retail and hospitality, the restaurant industry. They're really feeling the pain point of losing those women in the workforce. So, our efforts through Oakland County Michigan Works and our Michigan Works colleagues and, everyone that works in the workforce development space is, how do we get women that have been sidelined back into the labor force? What does that look like? What type of supports do they need? And hopefully, as we see, we're now into November, we'll start to see some of the September and October data showing, kids were back in school in person, and hopefully that will help encourage more women to return to the workforce, because quite frankly, we need them.
So what should employers that have open positions, that are looking to fill those positions, that are looking, even if they're looking specifically to bring more women into their labor force, what should they be looking to offer to try to attract those women back into those jobs? Because, like you said, there are many factors that go into why over 200,000 women, it's estimated, left the workforce during the bulk of the pandemic. But what's going to draw them back in?
Sure. Women are looking for flexibility. So, many of their children are not eligible to be vaccinated yet. So if their children are quarantined, maybe at school, or unfortunately contract COVID-19, what does that look like for them if they're working? Is that flexibility offered? So it's important for employers to make sure they're being transparent about their policies. They're looking for safe work environments. And again, in the job description, being very clear about what COVID safety protocols they have, or what their quarantine policy is, or what their vaccination policy is. And then they're just looking for flexibility in general. We're hearing a lot of women say, you know what, I wasn't enjoying what I was doing before. I'm looking for something new and different. and that's not just true of women, but we're seeing that in the labor force in general, that people are re-examining. If COVID did anything, it gave them a chance to spend more time with their family or spend more time at home, or, re-examine their career and really reflect on the opportunities that are ahead for them. So, I would encourage employers to make sure that they're transparent, that they're flexible where they can be. And women are looking for opportunities for advancement as well. So is there a career pathway for them if they join this company or organization?
We're joined by Jennifer Llewellyn. She's the director of Oakland County, Michigan Works, with us today on the Megacast. And much like we had a mass of women leave the workforce in the bulk of the pandemic, there are many other demographic groups that also left the workforce, and that employers are struggling in some cases to re-engage and attract back into those jobs. What are some of those other key demographics that are also kind of being a problem point in terms of reacclimating them to the workforce or bringing those numbers back into our workforce?
Sure, we're seeing an increase in retirees. Obviously, the impact of COVID on older workers was significant. So we're seeing more retirees or individuals that might have been working part-time. Maybe they retired and picked up a job at the local small business to supplement their income. That has been a pain point. Individuals with disabilities, recently returning veterans, even younger workers, teenage workers. We have parents saying, I don't feel safe. I'm working in this type of environment at this time. So, women is obviously one of the factors, but we're seeing it across multiple generations. And, people are concerned about, their health and well-being soon. The Delta variant was a significant impact on that. And then we're seeing more individuals go back to school as well. There are a lot of opportunities out there, not just through Michigan Works, but through our community colleges and universities for individuals to enroll in education programs. The state of Michigan has the Michigan Reconnect program that offers free community college tuition to residents 25 and older. Also, the Futures for Frontliners program is a tuition-free program for individuals that were essential workers during the pandemic. So, it's almost a perfect storm right now. There's so many different factors in play on different generations, and this desire for something new and better and a more strategic career pathway for many individuals.
And so how much does the COVID-19 safety element of these workplaces play into it? On one hand, a lot of people that want to get back into the workforce, they had previously during the pandemic before they left their jobs or were laid off from the jobs. However, that relationship ended. A lot of them were really encouraged and excited to be working remotely, and they're seeking that as they come back in. But on the other hand, there's also some of that added fear that continues on as these workplaces re-engage and start to trend back toward more normalcy, despite that normalcy not really being entirely appropriate just yet. How much of a factor are the COVID-19 situations in these workplaces playing into people legitimately being attracted and willing to take these jobs?
I think remote work is a game changer. We talked a lot about the future of work before the pandemic and, how technology and Industry 4.0 was going to shape the future of work. And what COVID-19 did was it kind of threw us into that. And many of these occupations where we thought, oh gosh, that could never be done remotely. We could never perform that remotely. All of a sudden, people were able to perform those functions and be successful at it as well. So, people saw, well, I can work different hours. I can still get my job done. I can work from home. I can do a hybrid model. And so, I think everyone comes from a different perspective. Some people feel very comfortable returning to the workforce in person. Other people are very cautious about that. And it really is an individual perspective. But I think it gave companies and workers an opportunity to look at the world of work differently. And so, this is going to be a really critical shift in the workforce. So you hear about these different points in time, the Industrial Revolution, and, you hear about Industry 4.0, but I think this is a really pivotal time in history. We're going to look back at this and say, wow, this really did change the way people work, how they work, and where they work.
We're joined by Jennifer Llewellyn from Oakland County, Michigan Works. Learn more information by going to oakgov.com, where you can find more on the Michigan Works program and get access to some of those resources as well. So let's compare and contrast, Jennifer. from workplaces, from companies where they have their job openings, they're going through their hiring processes, and things are working out for them, versus other companies that are either struggling or really not having any luck. What are some of the things that are being done by those companies that are having success that are generally not being done by the companies that are having some success or really struggling to bring employees back?
Sure. Companies that are successful right now are those that are being particularly transparent about their safety protocols, transparent about their wages and benefits, transparent about their COVID policies, transparent about their career pathways. So they're laying that out very clearly. They're also competitive in wages and benefits. And they're growing their own talent. They're investing in things like apprenticeship and tuition reimbursement programs. And they're creating positive workplaces where people want to work. Some of the companies that are struggling, part of it is the labor market. So there's companies that are doing everything right, and there's just not enough workers to fill the job. So I want to be honest about that. But, some of the companies that are doing, I call it post and pray, where, they posted a job and nobody applied. Unfortunately, that's just not going to work in this labor market. Companies have to be particularly creative, looking at apprenticeship models, looking at partnering with maybe their K-12 educational institution in their area, partnering with organizations like Michigan Works, looking at whether their wages and benefits are competitive to what the labor market demands right now. So it's a challenging time, particularly small businesses that might not have a human resources department or a person. This could be a really difficult time for them when they're trying to find that balance between, do I work in the restaurant and, fill these jobs and help with these functions because I don't have enough employees to fill the jobs, or do I spend the time, creating and cultivating talent? So it's a challenging spot for our employers. I don't know. I've been doing this 23 years. I can't remember a time when it's been this difficult for our employers, particularly small businesses, to fill the positions that they have available.
We're joined by Jennifer Llewellyn. She's the director of Oakland County Michigan Works, joining us on the Megacast, talking about the continued labor shortage issue here in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan. And on that front, I use the term labor shortage, but there seems to be two schools of thought. And they're from different perspectives in this process. On one hand, from the employer's side, it's being coined a labor shortage is a lack of workers that are willing to take these jobs or qualified for these jobs or are really serious about getting back into the workforce. On the other hand, from the potential employees' perspective, it's not a labor shortage, it's a quality labor situation that's in short demand. The flexibility that people are seeking, the working conditions, certainly the wages are of hot debate, and it seems like those companies that are being more flexible, that are adjusting to these situations, to this new normal that we have in our workforce, seem to be having a little bit more success than those that are being more rigid and sticking to methods that may have worked pre-pandemic. What do these companies need to be doing in the negotiation process as they're talking with potential employees? If they find someone that they really like and they're trying to do that final convincing to bring them into the job, what are potential employees really seeking when they're looking for these jobs? Because the jobs are available, but in some cases it seems to be that it's the rigidity of the employer that is preventing them from filling those jobs.
So, to your point, there's two factors. Michigan is ranked 41st, I think it is nationally, on labor force participation, meaning we have a lot of people in the state that are sidelined, that are not in the labor force. So whether that's women that we've discussed, or individuals with disabilities, seniors, maybe people that have been working in the gig economy. We have to do a better job of getting those individuals that have removed themselves from the labor force back into the labor force. So, and that falls on all of us. That falls on, education, that falls on government, that falls on business, to make sure that we are creating avenues for individuals to enter the labor force in a positive, productive way. And it helps all of us by doing that. But to your second question, what do employers have to do? The big thing is, acting quickly. And we're all guilty, right, of when we're hiring. It's a process. You have people apply, and then they reach out, and you schedule them for an interview a week later, and then you'll get back to them, a week or two later after that, and maybe then there's a second interview or third interview. With this type of labor market, there has to be that connection, and employers have to move quickly, because chances are that person's applying and interviewing at 4 or 5 other places at the same time. So that's one change that employers could make. The second that we've talked about is just transparency, laying everything out up front as far as wages, benefits, safety protocols, flexibility, and just making sure that potential employees are aware of what's available to them. My personal passion is around apprenticeships, career pathways, and education. So, if you're an employer, looking at what am I offering as far as a career pathway or career trajectory for this person, and laying that out. It seems like it might be too early in the interview process, but quite frankly, it isn't. So, making sure that they're acting quickly, that they're laying out all those safety protocols, and putting a career pathway forward for new workers.
We're joined by Jennifer Llewellyn. She is the director of Oakland County Michigan Works, joining us on the Megacast. You mentioned apprenticeships. In a couple of weeks, beginning the week of November 15th, it is National Apprenticeship Week. There are some training programs that will be available during that week through Oakland County Michigan Works. Tell us a little bit about some of those training programs that are available and how people can engage with them.
Yeah, so we love National Apprenticeship Week. Huge fan. I think we'll even get a cake here and celebrate, because it's just a big week nationally and in Oakland County. So on Tuesday, the 16th at 1 o'clock, we will be hosting a virtual event that focuses on veterans and apprenticeships, and kind of that perfect equation that, matching veterans with apprenticeship opportunities within businesses. So it's targeted at Oakland County companies. If they're interested in learning more about how to create an apprenticeship program, where to start, it can be a bit of an intimidating process. We do have an apprenticeship success coordinator on our staff who can assist businesses from beginning to complete execution and implementation. So we'll be hosting that event. There's also other events taking place that week. The operating engineers, Local 324 in Howell is hosting an event that week. Oakland Community College is hosting an Apprenticeship 101 event that week. So all that information can be found on our website at oaklandcountymiworks.com. But one thing we're particularly excited about during National Apprenticeship Week is we will be announcing funding that we have available to offset the cost of creating an apprenticeship to our employers. We recently received a $625,000 grant from the state of Michigan Labor and Economic Opportunity Department that will offer nearly $500,000 to Oakland County companies to help offset the cost of the tuition side or the on-the-job training portion of a registered apprenticeship. So we're really excited. We think apprenticeship is a great model for businesses. It's a great opportunity for people to learn and earn. And the important thing to know is that apprenticeships are not just limited to the skilled trades. And we do love apprenticeships as plumbers and electricians and pipe fitters, but we've recently apprenticed a medical assistant position. We've apprenticed an IT position. So, there's hundreds of jobs that you can create apprenticeship programs for, and we're hoping to bring more attention to that during National Apprenticeship Week, November 15th.
We're joined by Jennifer Llewellyn. She's the director of Oakland County Michigan Works. You can learn more information about all their programs, training opportunities, and find resources that may help you find a job or your company find skilled labor to fill those jobs by going to their website, oakgov.com/workforce. That's oakgov.com/workforce. Jennifer, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll transition from talking about jobs to talking about skincare. As we get into the colder months of the year, your routine should be changing. We'll talk with Dr. Kyle Farr, who's an expert on this topic, next to get some of those tips and tricks as we head into the colder parts of the fall and head straight toward winter. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, We can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary. And if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside Calvin Brown, our studio producer and board operator, joining me in the studio for our live shows Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. You can also find us live to tape on a number of other community television stations and radio stations and on demand on our website, civiccentertv.com, and click on Megacast. There you'll be able to find links to each and every one of our outlets so you can find out all the times that we're broadcasting live with them and where we're also broadcasting live to tape in places like Orion Neighborhood Television, which will air today's episode live to tape at 1 o'clock p.m. this afternoon on Comcast Channel 10 and AT&T Channel 99. Learn more about ON TV and all of our other partnering stations. Again, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now is Dr. Kyle Farr. He is a doctor of nursing practice, a board-certified family nurse practitioner over at Detroit Aesthetics Company in Plymouth. Kyle, Dr. Farr, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate having you on. So as we're heading into the colder months of the year and people are focusing on their skincare, the winter season, the colder months of the year, your skincare routine should in some ways differ or be altered in order to keep up with the changing weather conditions. What are some of those key differences between what people should be doing in terms of skincare during the warmer months of the year and now as we're into the colder parts of the fall and heading toward a cold winter?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's just like in the winter here in Michigan, our wardrobe kind of changes and evolves. So does what we need to do to our skin. Especially in the winter, we tend to get drier. We have to turn on the heat more inside of our homes, especially. We tend to spend more time inside, so we're in much drier environments. So a lot of the times in the winter, our skin tends to need more moisture. It's one of the big misconceptions in the winter, as well as with the dryness, is that maybe we should back off on exfoliation. And exfoliation of the skin in the winter is still really, really important. It's a time when our skin cells, dead skin cells especially, tend to kind of get clogged up on our face, and that can lead to acneic issues, things like that. So exfoliation in the winter, in moderation, I guess I should add, is still really important as well.
And how often should these kinds of practices be employed? Because on some days, it's going to be moderately cold outside, and you may be outside for a little while, maybe to just go and grab the mail or go for a walk or something on the weekend, as opposed to being outside for several hours if you work outside, if you have some other engagement out there, or if you're just outside driving to work in the cold in the morning for a half hour or something. How often should people be engaging in some of these routines specific for the winter? It should be every day. Should it be a couple times a day, a few times a week?
Yeah. Your skincare routine is something that you should kind of do every day. So if we look at the overall or all-encompassing routine, that should be something that we kind of get in a very intimate relationship with. Routine skincare is really important. That's where you're going to see results from. A lot of the times when patients come into either myself or one of the other experts that I work with here, they may say, oh, I don't know if this is working that well. And I'll be like, well, how long have you used it? So making sure that you're sticking with longevity of a product. I mean, skincare products, it can sometimes take 4 to 6 weeks before you start to see the end result of using a new product. So consistency is kind of the one key thing. When it comes to individual steps like exfoliation or things like that, that is where there may be some difference from person to person and as the climate changes as well. So that's a really good time to especially defer it maybe to the expert that you're working with and kind of ask them, hey, how often should I be exfoliating? One of the things to look for when you're choosing an establishment is making sure that you're leaving with a really good written out regimen. All of the patients that come to our office here, when they invest in skincare, we give them kind of a written out routine of what they should do and how often they should do things. So there's really not a whole lot of question for them at home. We also give them ways that they can reach out to us, whether it's, giving us a call on the phone, DMing us, or sending us a text message, with multiple modalities where patients can reach out and get their questions answered.
We're joined by Dr. Kyle Farr. He's a doctor of nursing practice and a board-certified family nurse practitioner at Detroit Aesthetics Company out of Plymouth. And so, Dr. Farr, these routines, are they pretty standard across the board, or should they differ person to person, men versus women? What's the status there?
Yeah, it's another great question here. It's something that is very unique, and it should be individualized to you. So it's sometimes tough. We'll get patients who'll come in and they'll say, hey, my friend gave me this to try, but I don't think it's doing anything, or it's not working as well. It's probably because that product's going to work really, really good for their friend's skin condition. So a skincare routine is something that needs to be individualized to each patient. I'm not a big fan of kits. I don't think like a skincare kit. They're real common. It's an easy marketing tactic that companies will use to get you to kind of invest fully in their line. I'm not a big fan of that, a kit. It's not a one size fits all when it comes to skincare. When I sit down with a patient or one of the other staff members here, we'll pull from multiple different lines a lot of the time to kind of build the perfect routine for that patient that's based on what they need. And it's because we know what the characteristics of these individual products are. So, to wrap that up into the short answer would be, talk to your expert and have them choose for you, because it's going to be very different based on what your skin type is and as it evolves.
So then, Dr. Farr, where should people start when they're trying to arrange their ideal skincare routine? What are the first steps they should be taking in trying to figure out the best routine for themselves?
Yeah, reach out to the place you go. Maybe you have a place you get facials at. It might be with us, which is awesome. Go to a place and talk to them. And we have something as simple as on our schedules, like a skincare consult. So it's a no obligation appointment. Patients can come in, meet with one of our experts, and we'll kind of spend 30 minutes just focused on their needs and kind of build the routine. One of the really important things that I tell patients to do during those times is to bring in what they're currently using at home. I love to see what they're using, and it may, even if it's stuff, from your retail locations, Target, Ulta, things like that, bring those in and show us. A lot of the times we might be able to keep some of those on even maybe, or kind of help you transition out. I don't like to waste anything, so I can promise you you come in, we're never going to tell you throw all of this away. You need to start with everything new. We'll help you transition into that routine so you're not wasting things as well. I think that's important to kind of reduce that waste. I also don't want underneath your sink to kind of become this graveyard of skincare products that you're no longer using. So we'll help you kind of transition into that. But definitely seek advice from somebody who does this for a living. One of the things I pride myself within here is my whole team here, this is 100% of what we focus on. We just focus on skincare and aesthetics. So when you come here, my staff is fully dedicated. This is what they live, eat, sleep, drink, breathe, is skincare and aesthetics every single day. So make sure that you're seeking out a place like that as well.
Joined by Dr. Kyle Farr from Detroit Aesthetics Company in Plymouth. And you mentioned you have that initial skincare consultation as one of the services that you provide over at Detroit Aesthetics Company out of Plymouth. What are some of the other services that you also provide over there?
Yeah, so we're what I like to call ourselves is we're a full service boutique med spa style. So we're at a very conversational level. We're approachable. You come in, it's a very comfortable, welcoming environment. So we offer facials, and we kind of have two avenues there. We have more of our medical aesthetic directed facials, but then we also recently just added on a whole treatment course for kind of that luxury spa type facial. If you like the massage and the relaxation, we have that as well. When you're getting a facial, if you're in for more of the targeted treatments, we have an esthetician who specializes in that, or you might want to mix of both. The other side of our practice is more of the medical side treatments as well. So we're offering a lot of your cosmetic injections, energy-based or laser treatments, chemical peels, body contouring, things like that. What I do always point out is we're not a dermatologist, so we're not a place to come if you notice something abnormal popping up on your skin. We're actually going to always defer back to a board-certified expert dermatologist for that. We're here for more of those medical aesthetic type treatments.
We're joined by Dr. Kyle Farr. He's the director of nursing practice, a board-certified family nurse practitioner as well at Detroit Aesthetics Company in Plymouth. Learn more information on their website, DetroitMedSpa.com. That is DetroitMedSpa.com. And then in terms of people with established skincare routines, we mentioned earlier some of the changes that should be considered or should be made for the winter season versus some of the warmer months of the year. How often should people be reevaluating their skincare routine to maintain their skin health for the environment that they're around, for the weather, and for their current situation with any sort of outbreaks they may be having or other issues?
It could be something as daily. I mean, you're really watching yourself. I myself am one of those people. When my skin tends to get drier as it gets colder outside, especially when we hit those January, February days where we're seeing some of those negative numbers, and I hate to remind anybody that that's what is coming, but when we get those, I might need to add a little bit of extra moisturizer to my skin during the day on those days, and so that might be something that you're needing to make daily tweaks to. But there's always the consistence that I'll tell patients that we need to do. So like the daily consistence are always cleansing morning and night, at least adding some kind of moisturizer to the skin, your vitamin C serums, which are help kind of protect the skin or serving as antioxidant. And especially in the winter, one of the most commonly overlooked things that people think they can kind of tuck away to the back of their cabinet is SPF. SPF is still really, really important in the winter. Actually, there is a statistic from the World Health Organization that came out that said that snow actually can reflect UV rays 80% effectively versus sand only reflects about 15% of UV rays. So those of us who are outside cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, outdoor activities with our kids in the winter, spending that time outside when the snow's on the ground and it's reflecting those UV rays, it's really important to still remember your SPF. And it's not enough to say that it's in my makeup. We'll get a lot of patients who sometimes say, oh, yeah, I wear SPF, it's in my makeup. I think there's another statistic out there that, to actually provide the longevity protection to the skin, one, you probably need to reapply a few times during the day to make sure that that protection is there. And then that you might actually need 7 times % the potency of what's found in makeup. So sticking with your SPFs in the winter is another really key, critically overlooked thing to do as well.
We're joined by Dr. Kyle Farr, Doctor of Nursing Practice and board-certified family nurse practitioner at the Detroit Aesthetics Company in Plymouth. Just another couple minutes with you, Dr. Farr. Anything else that would be really important for our audience to know right now or to keep in mind as they alter or they reevaluate or continue their skincare routine into the colder months of the year?
Yeah, just making sure that you're always, seeking advice from that expert or specialist that you work with. Winter months are great times as well. We're inside a little bit, so this is where we're commonly seeing more of those energy-based treatments or chemical peels that may have a little bit more social downtime. So this is a great time to think about getting those things done, but never feel that you can't reach out to either myself or one of these other places that are out there and get that expert advice. We're here to guide you and help you make those informed decisions the best way possible, so your money's always getting its best use.
Well, Dr. Farr, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us and giving us some of those tips and tricks to be mindful of as we head into the colder months of the year. It's starting to get colder out there each and every day, and it's only going to get worse as we head toward winter, and that really has a big impact on your skin. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
You as well. Again, you can learn more information and seek some of the services from Detroit Aesthetics Company out of Plymouth by going to their website at DetroitMedSpa.com. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll kick off the second hour of the show with Jon Handelsman, co-owner and marketing manager of the Better Health Store. He'll be joining us next, as well as a couple of other guests as well, to cap off this Monday edition of the Megacast on your radio homes for the show. 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. The Megacast returns after this.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe here in our studios in West Bloomfield Township, but we're broadcasting all across the state of Michigan, each and every day, live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon and live to tape, as well as on replay throughout the afternoon. You can also always find us on demand, including our full episodes and each individual interview on our website by going to civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link. Scroll down a little ways and you'll find our watch full interviews and watch full episodes links, and those will take you to a list of all of our episodes and all of our interviews dating all the way back to the beginning of the show in March of 2020. Joining us now is Jon Handelsman. He is the co-owner and marketing manager with the Better Health Store, Michigan's #1 source for organic and natural foods, as well as vitamins and supplements. Jon, thanks for being with us today.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. So tell us a little bit about some of the services that are provided and some of the products that you provide over at the Better Health Store.
Okay, well, we have 14 Michigan locations. Our flagship store is in Novi. We have some large markets in Shelby Township and in Grosse Pointe, stores in East Lansing, West Lansing, Ann Arbor. I think, well, we're certainly the largest independently or family locally owned natural foods market in Michigan, we think. We sell a huge variety. I mean, we started out selling mostly like vitamins and supplements and that, like vitamin C and all sorts of nutritional supplements like magnesium and calcium and all that. And now our stores have become markets as well. So actually slightly more than half of our sales are organic and natural foods now. So we sell organic produce at most of our markets, and we have meats like drug-free meats, antibiotic and hormone-free meats. We have cafes in many of our stores that have sandwiches and flatbreads and sometimes salad bars and hot bars, and huge beverage selection, huge selection of plant-based foods, huge selection of keto foods, gluten-free foods, foods for special diets. So that's pretty much where we're at. We have a store in Dearborn, but we're opening a larger store in Dearborn. I don't know if this is just Oakland County based or it's all Michigan based.
All right.
Okay, yeah, we're opening a new store beginning of next month, December, in Dearborn, right on Michigan Avenue. That will be like 3-4 times the store of our size of our current store there. That will have like, again, it'll be a market with a cafe and outdoor eating area, which is pretty important these days. People like to eat outside for obvious reasons. And yeah, so that's kind of, oh, and we also have an e-commerce business, betterhealthstore.com, where we sell, nationwide, but locally, and we have same-day delivery to many Michigan homes. You can order online, and if you order by 3 in most Metro Detroit and Lansing area zip codes, you can get your order by 8 p.m. that same day, and the shipping is free if you order more than $100.
We're joined by Jon Handelsman. He is the co-owner and marketing manager for the Better Health Store with 14 locations throughout the state of Michigan, including Better Health Market and cafes in Novi, Beverly Hills, and Bloomfield Township here in Oakland County. And so, Jon, the pandemic changed the game for a lot of businesses. It changed the identity of a lot of businesses, or forced them to adjust their identity and adjust the way that they approach the services that they provide. During this pandemic, with so many people and the general public refocusing the way that they approach their own health, how did that change the game in terms of how you and your other co-owners operated the Better Health Store in your business?
Well, I think it kind of changed everything. I mean, at first, when the pandemic first hit, our sales went through the roof. Like, we had huge lines of people like waiting to buy like virtually everything we had on our shelves. And then then we saw a huge spike in immune support products, like, not that they're really going to help prevent COVID, but people were buying them anyways, like elderberry and zinc and vitamin C and medicinal mushrooms to build immunity. And sales of those products are still high. And then we had a drop off in sales, and so we had to really change our delivery model. Again, that's why we now offer same-day home delivery. We offer free curbside pickup in our stores. And then we had to really change our website a lot. So we started selling like produce and refrigerated and frozen foods, all sorts of things that, weren't online before. You'd had to come in the store and buy them, and now you can purchase them on our website. Local customers can for delivery. So everything changed. It's still changed. Of course, we had to like shut down our cafes for a time, and our salad bars and hot bars, but those have reopened. And we're pretty strict about like making sure that the stores are super clean inside, and that all our associates are wearing masks, and our customers too, certainly if they're not vaccinated.
We're joined by Jon Handelsman, the co-owner and marketing manager for the Better Health Store. They have about 14 locations throughout the state of Michigan and are continuing to expand. And so, Jon, a lot of what goes on in a vitamin or a supplement store can at times seem aggressive or seem to be more of a sales ploy than an educational approach to your sales or to helping a customer. What is the Better Health approach to providing these supplements and providing these vitamins and these other services as well to your customers? Because on one hand, of course, you want customers to come in and buy product, but you also want them to ultimately get the benefits that they're looking to seek from these supplements, from these vitamins, from these foods, so that they continue to come back. So what is your approach and your company's approach to particularly the educational elements of shopping at a health food store like yours?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that approach is what's our biggest advantage, really. That if you come into, unlike if you're shopping for supplements or like at a Meijer or even a Whole Foods, that we have nutritional experts at all our stores, and you tell them what you're looking for. You tell them, what your major health issue is. Is it heart health? Are you looking to lose weight? And our nutritional experts can suggest the best products for you. And our prices are always great. We always have, sales going on, and we have like a rewards program. And one thing I'll say about our nutritional experts is that they're not pushy. I think they're really kind, almost like neo-hippies, maybe some of them, and they're not going to like force anybody, to buy anything that they're not feeling is quite right for them. So, they're great listeners, and they know a lot about nutrition, vitamins, nutrition, supplements, and they're there to help our customers find the right solutions.
We're joined by Jon Handelsman. He is the co-owner and marketing manager for the Better Health Store, joining us today on the Megacast. And Jon, as time goes on, and this business has been around for a while, as time goes on, you learn more, new information comes forth, things change, especially on the health side, where more information and more research is being done as years go on. More things are then considered to be healthier than others. Different practices may fall out of the norm because new information comes forth that shows they're either not as effective or are more harmful than they are good. So over the years, what are some ways that Better Health Store, that your business has adjusted on that information to continue to stay up to date on what are the healthiest practices so that you can best provide these services to your customers?
Mm-hmm. Well, perhaps all businesses are trendy, and the natural foods business and the vitamin and supplement business is certainly no exception. I mean, we've seen a number of trends kind of come and go, but certain things seem to, stick, like there are a lot of people out there that believe in a low-carb diet, or a keto, paleo diet, which are sort of new ways to talk about a low-carb diet. So we still have all sorts of products, even like breads without grain in them, made from cassava flour and that to help cut down on carbs, and all sorts of like keto treats and cookies and chocolates without sugar in them, a lot of sugar-free products. Certain trends like we stay on top of, but there's also certain things that are sort of like timeless. And I really think like the idea of eating like unprocessed foods, like natural foods, organic foods, the less adulterated or the better. I think that those are timeless ideas, and we, really hold true to those ideas and really believe in them. And so that's no fad. Also, like what's really big right now is a lot of people are going meatless. Vegan foods, like we're seeing like really strong demand for meat that isn't really meat and dairy that isn't really dairy. And, cheese which is dairy, that isn't really cheese, and all these types of products. So we're seeing like a huge surge in demand for meatless, for vegetarian and vegan products in our stores, and our selection of those products is like really skyrocketed. I think we have the best selection in town of those products. So that's something that's happening right now. And those products are also environmentally friendly. In a lot of ways, they less stress, on the planet when we're not raising animals to like come up with these products, and like no methane that goes into the atmosphere, So we're seeing huge demand for that. Another big trend has been the CBD trend, and we have like a huge selection of CBD products, only like from the top manufacturers. Like you can really believe that you're getting what's in the bottle or in the gummy or the spray or the tincture when it comes to those CBD products. Very popular right now. I guess certain trends have fallen by the wayside. I don't know what's really come to mind like right now, but we definitely stay on top of the trends.
We're joined by Jon Handelsman. He is the co-owner and marketing manager at the Better Health Store, joining us today on the Megacast. And so a lot of products that a health store like yours would then bring in that are either labeled as natural or labeled as organic or as keto, as vegan, whatever the case may be. In a lot of those cases, some of that stuff is not entirely regulated to be true to what it's labeled as. What sort of work goes into, or quality control goes into, from the Better Health Store perspective, ensuring that when you bring in certain products, as you said, you're bringing in the best of the best, so that customers can go there with confidence, knowing that when they're shopping for these healthier foods and healthier options, they are getting what they're looking for?
Yeah, well, we have a saying that we read the labels so you don't have to. And that, like, we're really strict about what we bring into our stores. We have this huge no-no list of like certain chemicals or additives and products that if a product has anything that's on our no-no list, we don't allow it into our stores. We're really strict about our organic produce. We also like to bring in a lot of local produce, and that it has to be certified organic. I know there's different definitions of what's actually organic, but we're pretty strict about it and sort of like hold true to the strictest definition of what's organic. And then again, with our vitamins and supplements, we're really careful about safety, and we're careful about only the highest quality ingredients, go into them, and we're really careful about like dosage. So, if it says you're getting 250 milligrams of something on the bottle, you're going to get that. It's going to that the labels on all our products are 100% accurate.
Well, Jon, just another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be interesting for our audience or important for our audience to know about your business at this time?
I just think that we're a family business. My father was like really into vitamins and supplements growing up, and it sort of drove me crazy when I was a kid because he made us all like stop eating like white bread and drinking pop and all those kinds of things. But as we grew up, we learned that he was right, that eating healthy and natural solutions is a better way to live. And so we took his ideas as inspiration. He's still involved in the business right now. He's 91 years old, and he's still working at our Bloomfield store in the summertime, like helping customers to, with their nutritional questions. And so, we're a family business, a Michigan business, and we're here to help make it easier and less expensive for Michiganders to reach their health and fitness goals. That's what we're all about. It's like a really personal commitment.
Well, Jon, we appreciate your time. Thanks for telling us more about your business and some of the ways that you've changed throughout the pandemic.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's great to speak with you.
Yeah, good speaking with you as well. You can learn more information about Better Health Store by going to thebetterhealthstore.com. Again, that's thebetterhealthstore.com. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we will go from health foods to healthy living situations. We'll speak with a DMAX Research Associate and University of Michigan PhD candidate, Llewellyn, about how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the housing situation, particularly in the city of Detroit. That is coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
With us now is Llewellyn. She is a U of M PhD candidate and a DMAX Research Associate. Her research primarily focuses on measuring neighborhood perceptions and reputation and documenting processes of neighborhood change. Lydia, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. So you are a DMAX Research Associate. Tell us a little bit about that DMAX program and what that's all about.
Yeah, so DMAX stands for the Detroit Metro Area Communities Study, and it is a survey research project run out of the University of Michigan, primarily out of the Ford School of Public Policy and the Institute for Social Research, and led by Professor Jeffrey Morinoff and Professor Liz Gerber. And that survey project started in 2016 and collects data on a representative sample of Detroit residents to try to understand their opinions about different things that are happening in the city, to try to give Detroit residents a voice to help shape public policy, and also to, most recently, understand the effects of COVID on Detroit residents. So I mentioned that we started in 2016. That was when our first survey went into the field. In 2020, March of 2020, COVID emerged as a challenging dimension of our time, and Detroit emerged as a COVID hotspot, and we realized that we had the survey infrastructure in place to basically capture how the pandemic affected the health and well-being of Detroit residents. And so starting in March 2020, we pivoted a little bit to really focusing on the impacts of COVID and to a rapid response survey process. So instead of doing one survey every 6 months, we've now done 7 or 8 surveys just during this 18-month span of COVID. So we have a really nice repeated measure of how Detroiters are faring over the course of the pandemic.
And then in terms of the findings of these surveys, what have been some of the general results that you and others participating in the DMAX study have found? And maybe if there have been any surprises from your results so far?
Yeah, I think early on in the pandemic, one of the things that we found that really brought home some of the disparities that were being wrought by COVID was just the disparity in who knew someone who had died or gotten ill from COVID. And, overall, we found that within Detroit, about a third of residents said that they had a friend or family member who had died from COVID. This is basically last summer. So that seems like a pretty high impact. I felt very fortunate that I didn't know anybody personally who had gotten ill. But when you look at the differences between Black Detroiters and white Detroiters and who knew someone who had died from COVID, the disparity was really shocking to me. 42% of Black residents said that they knew a friend or family member who had died from COVID as of last July, compared to just 11% of white residents. So Black residents were 4 times as likely. And this was around the same time also that we had a lot of demonstrations against police brutality and over-policing. And it really brought home this idea that there was a twin pandemic happening, especially in communities of color. So I think that, early on, certainly that was one of those findings that really surprised me. I think some other things, we see a lot of residents who have fallen behind on their bills, a lot of residents who have said that, if they were hit with an emergency $400 expense, they wouldn't be able to pay it. So I think some of these findings help show that COVID obviously has health impacts, but the impacts go so much further than that. And so those are some of our findings kind of early on in the pandemic, or maybe midway through. I don't know what the end point remains to be seen. But even more recently, we pride ourselves on having a representative sample. We recruit people based on their addresses. And so we have 2,000 residents spread across the city. And then we use survey weights to shift the population of our sample so that it matches the population of Detroit, because there's inevitably harder to reach respondents. And because of the size of our sample and the representative nature, we're able to make estimates of the rate of unemployment in Detroit and, have a much larger sample than, say, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who also produces estimates for the city and the broader metro area. And our estimate in June was that 25% of residents who are in the labor force, so those who are either actively working or seeking work, were currently unemployed. And that was a much higher unemployment rate than certainly the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It was not too much higher than the current population survey, but I think that really brought home, especially this summer when we thought that the pandemic was maybe waning, that the level of need and also the level of people who were not able to return to normal remained really high. And I think in the months since, we all have seen the help wanted signs and probably experienced service disruptions just because there are so many people, so many businesses looking for employees. And I think our data sort of hinted that might be coming. So, some of those are surprising.
We're joined by Lydia Wilden. She is a University of Michigan PhD candidate and a DMAX research associate as well. And Lydia, there was recently a really interesting story, a concerning story from WXYZ TV. Nearly 38,000 Detroit residents lived, that said that nearly 38,000 Detroit households lived in quote-unquote inadequate housing in the past year, according to some studies, including yours. Your most recent report focused on home repair needs in the city of Detroit. What did you find were some of the most common needs in these home repairs, and just to what extent home repairs in the city of Detroit are necessary at this moment in time?
Yeah, so we included on our most recent survey, which was conducted in June of this year, June 2021, some questions about home conditions and residents' need for home repair. And that has been a story that some of my colleagues, especially at Poverty Solutions at the University of Michigan, have been following over time. And certainly a number of reporters and members of the press in Detroit have been focused on for a long time. And the basic idea is that while there's been a lot of conversation around concerns over evictions and concerns over foreclosures, and also concerns over property tax issues in Detroit, there's this other dimension of housing insecurity that maybe gets a little bit less coverage, and that is the condition that a lot of residents live in, and the need for home repair among especially low-income residents. And my colleagues at Poverty Solutions, I believe a year prior, had put forth a report that used a measure from the American Housing Study that assessed the number of inadequate, or the rate of inadequate homes in the metro area. So the Detroit, Warren, Dearborn metro area, and said, okay, if houses in Detroit are in inadequate condition at the same rate that they are in the metro area, they estimated that about 24,000 households probably lived in inadequate or poor quality housing. But we know that Detroit's very different in a lot of ways from the rest of the metro area. The housing often is older, the population is more heavily minority, and also there's a much higher poverty rate in the city. And so it was quite likely, and my colleagues at Poverty Solutions acknowledged this, that their estimate was probably an underestimate. And so we wanted to use our survey to say, can we refine that estimate at all? Can we give sort of an updated estimate of how many people are actually living in inadequate quality housing? And like you said, our estimate is closer to 38,000, which I think translates to around 91,000 residents. So in a city of around 650,000 residents, that's quite a sizable percent of the population. So you asked specifically, like, what types of housing conditions and housing needs are people living with? By far within the city, the most common issue that people are living with is just stopped up plumbing, or pests, rats, cockroaches, mice, that type of thing. But that's not what we were using to count how many people were living in inadequate housing. When we defined inadequate quality housing, we were focused on those who tell us that in the last year they experienced a major problem with lack of heat, exposed wires or lack of electricity, and either no running water or no hot water. So one or more of those four conditions. And that's where we get this estimate that around 13% of Detroiters experience that as a major problem in the last year.
We're joined by Lydia Wildin. She is a DMACC Research Associate and a PhD candidate at the University of Michigan. And how has, over the course of the pandemic, the data from your studies changed or maybe been impacted by the continued impact of the housing crisis, particularly with people being able to pay their rent in a timely manner, and some of those landlord and tenant issues that have arisen because of that, especially after the federal eviction moratorium had been lifted earlier on, just a couple of months ago?
Yeah, we have tried to track how many people in our data are experiencing housing hardships, like being evicted or foreclosed upon. Unfortunately, because we have an address-based survey, sometimes those people, and because adverse life happenings make it less likely that you're going to find the time to respond to a survey. We haven't seen that much evidence of spikes in evictions and foreclosures, but I know that some administrative data from the state, I believe, sort of suggests otherwise. But what we have seen is, like you said, people falling behind on their bills. And in terms of how thinking about home repair might reflect some of these tensions between tenants and landlords, one thing that we do find is that renters are nearly as likely as actually slightly more likely than homeowners to say that they live in inadequate quality housing. And that's important for two reasons. The first is that there are a number of programs that exist to help residents repair their homes, that give grants or low interest loans to residents to engage in home repair. In fact, the city just launched in September a new program called Renew Detroit. But those programs are really exclusively for homeowners. There you go. There's very little funding available specifically targeted to renters. And in some ways that makes sense, because renters shouldn't necessarily be responsible for the condition of their housing. You'd hope that their landlord is, but there are a lot of cases in Detroit where landlords are sort of intentionally neglecting properties or feel that they have very little reason and that tenants themselves have little recourse to push to have their properties maintained better. So we actually asked renters, have you made requests to your landlord to have your home repaired? And has your landlord been responsive? And among all renters, most say that their landlord, when they've made a request, has been at least somewhat responsive. More than 50% said they were either somewhat or very responsive. But when we look only at those renters who are living in inadequate quality housing, 38% said that their landlord was very unresponsive to their requests for repair. And again, thinking about the types of conditions that we're talking about, lack of heat, lack of hot water, possibly lack of electricity. These are basic living conditions that I think you or I can't really imagine living without. And that's a not uncommon occurrence for a lot of these renters, and they're not able to get their landlords to make the changes that they need.
In the case of homeowners, as you mentioned that these relief programs and funding programs through the city are mostly beneficial to homeowners instead of renters. For them, are those funds that are available to them or have been made available to them, have those been significant enough to mitigate some of these issues at a significant level for individual homeowner to individual homeowner, or is there still, from what you and from what the DMACC research team has found, still a greater need for more of that relief so that these homeowners can afford to make those very necessary repairs to be living in safe conditions?
No, the available funds are certainly not sufficient. And I don't think that there's not one group to sort of point blame at for that.
Sure.
I mentioned the Renew Detroit program, which arose from, it's using ARPA funds, so the American Recovery Program Act funds, to help residents maintain and stay in their homes, which is, I think, a great use of these federal dollars that are going straight to cities. And it's an example of the city responding directly to a survey that they did that asked residents, what are your top priorities? How would you like us to spend this money? So that's part of what the Renew Detroit program came from, is the residents said, we need money for home repair, and the city made this funding available. But the Renew Detroit program is targeted to seniors, so those over the age of 62, and to residents living with a disability. So that means it's not available to all homeowners. It's really available to a select group. And it also only includes enough funding for around 750 residents annually. Or 750, households annually. And as I said, as we've discussed, if the scope of the problem is there are 38,000 households living in inadequate quality conditions, then addressing the needs of 750 of those is really, I think, a drop in the bucket. And some of your press colleagues have reported that already more than 5,000 applications for that program have been received. I believe that applications remain open until the 31st. So if you're a senior or someone living with a disability who is low income in Detroit, I encourage you to apply. But there's already a greater demand than there likely is ability to meet that demand. And that's only if you fall within these specific categories. So there definitely is greater demand than there is resources available.
We're joined by Lydia Wilden. She's a U of M PhD candidate as well as a DMACC research associate. And on the vaccine front, the uptake in vaccination across the state of Michigan, across the U.S., has very much stagnated in the past several months. From what your studies have found on vaccination, what can you tell us about vaccine uptake in Detroit over the course of time, and especially more recently now, and especially also including the anticipation of children ages 5 to 11 being able to soon be vaccinated against COVID?
Sure. So I'll start just by caveating that our most recent data was collected in June and July. So in terms of being able to speak to what's happening right now, it's all going to be a little bit speculative. But what we saw when we did our survey in June was that by our estimates, roughly half of Detroit adults who were eligible had been vaccinated. That's a little bit higher than what the administrative data suggests. But that suggested there was decent uptake. Obviously, half is not enough to get us to herd immunity. And we also saw some really major disparities in terms of the age of people who were being vaccinated and the race of people who were being vaccinated. So we saw that white residents were a lot more likely to have been vaccinated than Black or Latino residents, but then in fact, that is mostly driven by younger Black and Latino residents, those under the age of 40 who had yet to be vaccinated. So, a major push, I think, is ongoing in the city to try to get those younger adults to vaccinate. I know some great work by members of the steering committee that provides some oversight and some funding for the DMACS project, the MySeal program. Members of that steering committee have been very, very active in trying to get especially residents of communities of color to vaccinate. And what we've seen actually is that persuasion campaign seems to be working. I had the pleasure of presenting some data on Tuesday at a national conference on public health that shows that among those who haven't been vaccinated, residents of color are much more likely to be changing their mind about the vaccine. And my colleague, Pastor Charles Williams, who's also a reverend at the historic King Solomon Baptist Church, there we go, in Detroit, as well as a student in the sociology department, he has said that part of the issue is that there's more of a wait and see mentality in some of these communities, that they weren't necessarily convinced from the get-go that they needed to get the vaccine or that the vaccine was necessarily safe. But we have seen over time a shift in vaccine intention in those communities towards getting the vaccine. And then once you are intent on getting the vaccine, we actually see that there's a pretty high conversion rate. So to throw some numbers at that, when we look at who has gotten vaccinated versus who told us they were very unlikely to get vaccinated, just 2% of white residents who said, I'm unlikely to get vaccinated in January of this year had been vaccinated by June, compared to 36% of Black residents and 70% of Latino residents. So that really suggests that in terms of persuasion, communities of color are, really much more dynamic, and they are, shifting towards vaccinating. And if that trend continues, which we hope to pick up in our next round of data, which we're starting to collect, I believe, in the next week or so, hopefully that will mean that there is a much lower disparity between white residents, Black and Latino residents in terms of uptake. And then you asked about children getting the vaccine, especially now that kids ages 5 to 11 have been cleared to get vaccinated. What we saw in June, when only those ages 12 and up were able to get vaccinated, was a relatively low vaccination rate. And maybe more concerningly, we saw that households with children, the adults in those households, were less likely to be vaccinated. So I know that the city and just the public health department of the state and locally has devoted a lot of resources and attention to trying to shift the minds of those parents, and also to affirm that the vaccines are safe, but that they're also important for kids. And that's something that we're hoping to pick up on in our next survey.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Calvin Brown in our studios in West Bloomfield Township. We broadcast live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday. Learn more information about the show and find all of our full episodes and full interviews on our website at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast link. Joining us now to cap off today's edition of the show, we're pleased to be joined by Christine Johnson, the Career and Education Coordinator at Grace Centers of Hope in Pontiac. Christine is their new Education and Career Coordinator, and thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about the Career and Education program that's over there at Grace Centers of Hope and how it helps the people that are utilizing the services of this organization.
Yeah. So the Career and Education Center helps our clients at Grace Centers of Hope prepare for success. So everything we do is designed to help our clients for their success in the future. So what we offer here is we have a transition class program in the building that we provide for the residents once they've completed the 1-year life skills program. That includes classes on time management, codependency, work readiness, some personality profile classes, and all of these things are to help prepare them to get back into the workforce. And so then after those transition classes, they're able to move into our computer lab and spend time job searching. So I help them with their resumes, resume building, explaining lapses of time on their resume, using job boards, doing mock interviews with them. So that's part of what we do. At the Career and Education Center. The other part is we offer GED prep courses, and we are a certified GED testing facility. So that's a service that we offer to the public so that we can kind of give back to Pontiac. So if there are residents in the 1-year programs that have not obtained their GED, they're sent over here to work on obtaining their GED. So that's part of what we do here.
We're joined by Christine Johnson. She's the new Career and Education Coordinator at Grace Centers of Hope in Pontiac. And Christine, you have a really interesting story of how you ended up at Grace Centers of Hope in this role. Tell us that story and how you were ultimately led into this job, helping people in a way that you previously were helped as well.
Yeah. So actually, for 13 years of my life, I was addicted to heroin and meth. So I spent the vast majority of my adulthood really on a pretty severe downward spiral. I ended up in jail multiple times, went to 13, 15 rehabs, did tons of outpatient counseling, therapy, programs, everything you can imagine. I did it. And so I found myself in jail looking at prison time for a felony manufacturing of meth charge. And I really was just at the bottom of myself. And I had heard about Grace Centers of Hope through my aunt who worked with them. And so I applied and I was able to get in and I did the 1-year life skills program. I ended up working at Grace. I was an RA to begin with. I eventually made my way up to, I was the intake coordinator for the women's program. So I was actually helping other women get into the women's program, the Women's 1-Year Life Skills Program. And then I was offered the position here at the Career and Education Center, where I now help those who have completed the 1-year program. So it's really, really a great full circle thing for me.
So having been through the program, having seen how it helped you and experienced it yourself, how does that help to inform the services that you're providing in your work with Grace Centers of Hope for other women who have been through similar situations to yours, and men and other people as well that are coming in through the system?
Absolutely. So I think that what it does for me is I have a very good understanding of the fears that face a lot of these clients. They are worried, just like I was, that they will not be able to be successful and pick up these pieces of their life due to legal issues, financially, a lack of education. All of these things I'm very intimately aware with because I suffered from them myself. I think the great thing about the way that Grace is structured is it's very long-term, very all-encompassing. So there are a lot of resources here to help you every step of the way. My step is like the last step. My program kind of comes in at the end of the 1-year program. There's a subsequent 2-year program after the 1 year called the Aftercare program, where we own over 50 houses in the surrounding area. And if you choose, you are able to rent a room in one of those homes and continue to stay and live and be a part of the community and take part in all of the services that we offer here. So I actually still live in one of the homes with my husband. So it's a really all-encompassing program, and it's very helpful in my job, knowing those fears and those anxieties so that I can address them. And the clients know that I know. They know that I know, and I'm addressing things that maybe they haven't even spoken about. But I know that they're worried because I worried about it too. So.
We're joined by Christine Johnson. She's the Career and Education Coordinator at Grace Centers of Hope, joining us on the Megacast. And Christine, for you, having been through the program and been through the 1-year program, and now helping other people through this, what do you take from it? What kind of feelings does that bring to you, and how does that aid in your recovery? Because recovery is constant, and for some, seeing other people going through similar situations could be triggering. How does that help in your recovery to be able to also help other people along to get to the point that you're at?
Sure. So it helps me knowing that I'm helping others in the way that I was helped. So that in itself is a gift of service that I'm able to provide, and it gets me out of my own anxiety or my own fears because I'm helping someone else. You tend to think about yourself less when you're helping someone. So that has been a really big component of it. I think the other thing that has been really helpful is I really was brought to such a strong foundation here at Grace. The community and the faith was so strong and was able to instill a really solid foundation for me. So when I encounter those clients that are really struggling, I am very secure in my own recovery, to know that I can see someone else going through something I had been through that might be really like triggering or upsetting, and know that I don't have to go there anymore, that that's not me. And while I'll never become complacent, I do know that I have really been blessed. And that my job here is to help others achieve the same the same like spirit, the same level that I'm at, because it's possible. I mean, I was really, I was beyond any help, and I had tried all help. So I know that if I'm here, they can be here too. So.
We're joined by Christine Johnson. She is the Career and Education Coordinator at Grace Centers of Hope, joining us on the Megacast. And so you mentioned that you're at the end of the process, or near the end of the process, at the tail end of the one-year program. And one of the things that is offered through Grace Centers of Hope are transition classes to help these men and these women that have gone through their programs acclimate back into the world with education opportunities, with job opportunities, with training. What are some of those transition services, and what kind of results do those ultimately give for a lot of these people that are going back into what I would imagine to be a great unknown after they go through this whole process?
Yeah, absolutely. So the classes that we offer in transition, so there is an entire class dedicated to work readiness. So that involves how to build a resume, how to explain gaps in your resume, how to go on interviews, what to do in an interview, what not to do in an interview, how to explain if you've been fired, how to explain if you quit. So there's the work readiness courses. There's also a lot of courses on practical things, home economics, time management. We do a personality profile class that helps our clients understand who they are and how they interact with other people in the workplace, and also where they live. So in the community. And then there's classes on codependency, which they've been learning about in the 1 year. But by the end of the 1 year, they're starting to think about relationships. And so we like to touch on that topic again. And so these 4 weeks are really about kind of capping off the year that they've spent in the men's and women's programs, and bringing up a few things that they haven't learned necessarily. So there's financial planning classes that talk to them about how to make a budget, maybe how to fill out W-2 forms, how to do your taxes, things that some of us, well, I don't know if any of us learned in school. I don't remember learning that in school. So they're really practical classes, and they kind of cap off that year. So they've been extremely successful. We have a 100% job placement rate. And since 2016, we've helped 244 residents obtain full-time employment.
We're joined by Christine Johnson. She is the Career and Education Coordinator at Grace Centers of Hope, joining us on the Megacast. Christine, just another couple minutes with us before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be important for our audience to know about the Career and Education program at Grace Centers of Hope, about that one-year program, or how people can obtain these services?
Yeah, so Grace Centers of Hope, like I said, is a very all-encompassing program. So they're in it for the long haul with you. So if people are interested in what this program has to offer, either as a client or as a volunteer, so we run a lot on donations and volunteers, which has been a blessing because we are a nonprofit. So that's something that we always are really grateful for. So if people are interested in becoming a volunteer, they can always contact us and find out ways. We use a lot of volunteers here at the Career and Ed department. We have tutors that help our students. We have people that come and help with mock interviews with the clients, and in the various other departments in the kitchens at both of the programs. So we always have available opportunities for volunteers. And again, we are so blessed that we do. And also, if there's people out there who are struggling with anything, it doesn't just have to be addiction. It can be a chronic homelessness. It can be mental health. It can be a lot of things, domestic violence, anything that has really got you to a place in your life where you're struggling. absolutely calling Grace Centers of Hope was the best decision I've ever made. And I know for my time in the women's department, the helping of so many women to get into the program, I know it was the best decision that they had ever made as well. So it's absolutely a great resource. It's totally free of charge. Everything here is free to the clients. All of the services that we offer, the GED program, the transition classes, the entire one-year program, it is entirely free to our clients. So I would encourage anyone that's struggling to reach out, because this is a really, really, really great resource and a wonderful place that has changed my life so much.
Well, Christine, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Christine Johnson, Career and Education Coordinator at Grace Centers of Hope, located in Pontiac. Learn more information on their website, gracecentersofhope.org. That is going to do it for our show today. A big thank you to Christine, as well as all of our other guests. Lydia Wilden, a PhD candidate at the University of Michigan and a DMAX Research Associate. Jon Handelsman, co-owner and marketing manager at the Better Health Store. Dr. Kyle Farr from Detroit Aesthetics Company in Plymouth. And Jennifer Llewellyn, the Director of Oakland County, Michigan Works. You can find all of our full episodes and interviews on demand, usually by mid to late afternoon, on our website at civiccentertv.com. Just click on our Megacast link there. You'll also be able to find more information and links to all of our partnering television, radio, and other media outlets, so you can see everything else that they do throughout the regular week as well. Over on our website also, on civiccentertv.com's coronavirus page, that's where you'll find all that information that you need to know about COVID-19 from trusted, reliable resources on the front line, such as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, especially as we're nearing the point where probably very soon, maybe by the end of this week, we could see the availability of Pfizer vaccines being available for children ages 5 to 11. Those resources are going to become even more important for you parents out there who have questions about the vaccines and how they may affect your child 5 to 11 years old, or where they can get the vaccine in Oakland County and other places, as well as the continued efficacy of many precautions that are being taken on top of vaccines as well. All that information you have access to readily at our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Big thank you to our crew, Calvin, our studio producer and board operator, Brendan, our Zoom producer, Larry Nyland, our booking producer, as well, for being with us today and out there at Master Control, switching us on and off the air. Big thank you to everyone for putting this show together today. On Civic Center TV, coming up next, it's The Splash with Maddie Mushkin, and then on My Michigan TV, it's Steve Lato Live. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m.